Pentagon, Trump, and Vance at the White House. What are your views on Christian nationalism at this time, and how much is too much Christian nationalism?
Where's Chris when we need him?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is just too long to go down. We would spend, to try to somewhat approach this accurately, we would spend an hour just defining terms. And then you're talking about Hegseth, Trump. Man, I don't know them. I know Trump, credits God with saving his life. I think maybe I've heard Pete talk about he's a Christian from time to time. So I have no idea what a Christian affiliation, what their beliefs are. So I don't even know their Christian stance. And then even if they say, I'm a proud Christian, great, what does that mean? So Christian nationalism, just in a very broad category, since I don't have these people on speed dial or know anything about their faith hardly, Christian nationalism typically, if we're working with this espousal that Christians should be promoted and get it in government, sort of like a theocracy, I think there's a lot of reasons why even as a Christian that's not good, because then, what flavor of Christian governs? And we see what happens from, the Inquisitions, and when Rome was in power and had their, the papal empire, we see that it was leveraged and not a lot of good things happened. So depending what type of Christian nationalism we're talking about, how we just promote this kind of like our country, like God, family, country, that type thing, God, country, family. I think as a cultural movement, it's just fine. Like, people have opinions. People are sharing all kinds of other godless opinions every day, and they're free to do so. So if we're talking about Christian nationalism, not in like some sort of theocracy forced government, sure, you have your faith, share it. Promote that in culture. Promote this idea of God, family, country. And if we're talking about setting it up as a theocracy, I think there's a lot of bad stuff that can come of that from history. For the Christian, our kingdom is not of this world. However, our Caesar allows us to vote and exercise this government for the people, of the people, by the people. So, if someone wants a theocracy, well, you're free, I guess, to exercise your political leverage and see if that ever happens. So that's kind of what I think in a nutshell. If we're being very vague. Do you want to respond to that stuff?
So what you're saying is, don't take out a second mortgage to buy another house.
I see you, Mir, but Brian, did you want to say anything first? Since you were, we see you so rarely.
Oh, dude, I have been so busy, but it's great to see y'all. I was just going to jump in because I'm so excited. My new book went live on Amazon this morning, Nate.
I'll buy yours, you buy mine.
I would love to. If you'll drop the link, I'll get it.
Sweet. Gosh, I don't want to make promises I can't keep. How much is your book?
It's $16.
Is there a Kindle edition?
There will be. I've got to finish formatting everything for Kindle.
Let me know when you get the Kindle edition. You're under no obligation to buy mine until I buy yours.
What's your book about?
Oh, it's the Ask a Christian book. It's kind of a little bit of a recap of the whole Ask a Christian thing, like where it came from, why it exists, and it gets into really taking like difficult topics. Like, it goes through some regular Q&A stuff, like commonly. It goes through like it goes through like commonly asked questions that we've dealt with over and over here. But the real focus of it, yes, it does have some of those, like can Noah's Ark float, blah blah blah. So it's some of the Trinity.
I don't get it. Like, are y'all trying to be homophobic or something right now? Like, what's going on?
I'm sorry.
Coochie man.
We don't need to make fun of you for that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gay. Y'all trying to tell like a homosexual Jew.
That's more than he is already intended to get.
Wait, as in like as a candidate?
In other words, it doesn't mean shit. Because the charges are dropped, and so all of a sudden people gotta vote for him. People don't like that motherfucker. He's not being reelected mayor, and that's that on that.
Oh yeah. No. I got you, Scotty. No, I'm just disgusted because just that the charges are being dropped.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Not surprised. I mean, they're pressuring all of these.
Yeah, and Brian, I just wanted to say I'm sorry to hear, and you're right. Like, sorry, I've been in and out, but people don't understand the effects. They're like, okay, just get rid of everything. But we really, if we're gonna get rid of certain things or change certain things, we really have to do things slowly, because now, we just HHS. They just pulled 10,000 jobs yesterday, right? Those people held a vigil outside of the HHS headquarters building, right? So many jobs have been lost within the past, government jobs, good government jobs with pensions, right? Most jobs, you don't get a pension anymore. So we really, I'm sorry to hear about that. I'm sure that's a missed opportunity, and, praying that more opportunities come your way. But I just wanted to say that, and definitely pulling the plug on things just so erratically and harshly is just not good overall. Even if it's a great idea, the best of ideas, if not done in the right way, could lead to yeah, I could go back to bashing your guys. Is that that's what you want to do? Okay, go ahead, Brian.
I just think. I mean, it's not my. I'll just say thank you. I mean, we kind of. It's early. It was early enough in this program that I was working on, and that's not the only vehicle that I was designing or being a part of the design team. I've got two others that are in the auto space, and then some construction equipment. I can talk about, but through Vermeer and Oshkosh, ironically out of Wisconsin. But I'm a gearhead. I love cars, but I'm a designer. I'm an industrial designer. So, but yeah, we kind of felt the writing on the wall. But my thing is those that are saying that, oh, these tariffs are going to bring manufacturing jobs back, or else. I'm like, well, are people not seeing another path that car companies or companies can take, which is, well, like this client, this OEM said, well, you know what? It's not financially within our favor to bring this program back home, so we're just going to kill the program. And so that lessens the choice for the buying public of this vehicle. And yeah, and my bias, like, it was going to be a hot little car that I was going to design. And people who do not realize and do not fully grasp and understand the automobile sector, like, you just can't, snap your finger and poof, bring a factory back or move a program. Like I said, the vehicle that I was part of this team designing, it was scheduled to come out in 2029. This is 2025. And that was an aggressive timeline. So it takes a long time for vehicles, for a clean sheet vehicle to come to market. Factories to retool. Now, to retool an existing factory, meaning there's a factory already up, and say it makes a truck. I'm just keep it simple, and so they're going to quote unquote bring jobs back, and say a company wants to bring a vehicle that they made in Mexico or Canada to this factory, to this existing factory in the U.S., even to retool, meaning take out all the stuff that's in there that was there to make that truck, and now they want to make a car. Even that takes time, at least a year. 500, depending on the severity, 500 to 750 million, almost $1 billion, to completely build a brand new factory from from the ground up, we're talking billions and billions of dollars and countless years. You have to, source the location, the environmental impact studies, the infrastructure, the suppliers.
Hey, Brian, we're going to try to get back to the topic.
Yeah, but let's go back to Eric. Yes, please, because I'm more than vehicles, and Eric Adams, good luck with that. not y'all, but him. Look.
Click to play. It's about this more Liberation Day chaos. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that real quick. It's about 4 minutes. Oh goodness, hold on. Got it on mute. Sorry.
One of the senators leading the resolution joins us now, Senator Mark Warner, who is also the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee and a member of the Finance Committee. So many different topics I can get your thoughts on today, sir, but I'm going to begin with tariffs. I know you're sending out this resolution. There's some Republican support, but the likelihood that it's going to get to the House is small, and then the likelihood that Donald Trump would sign it is zero. So tell me the strategy here.
Well, the strategy is that we're finally back on offense as Democrats. Last week, it was the gross misuse of the signal channel, and they're still reeling. We still don't know whether those phones have even been checked for malware. We've got allies around the world pissed off beyond belief, including the Israelis. This week, after lots of bluster about the tariffs, they're coming. And we had just at the press conference a beer guy from Alexandria who gets a lot of his ingredients from Canada. He's already laid off 2 folks. We had a whiskey guy from Richmond. He's talking about the fact that in Alberta province, they're taking American whiskeys off the shelves. So the craziness of going into a trade war with our longest ally is just insane, and I think Republicans realize this. I mean, if we look as well, look at what Trump and officials themselves claim these tariffs are going to raise. They say $100 billion a year on cars, $600 billion a year on these other reciprocal tariffs. That's $700 billion a year. Who's going to pay for that? American consumers. This will be the largest tax increase in American history. It is going to send the stock markets, which are already reeling. Liberation Day, as Trump calls tomorrow, will probably be known as Black Wednesday in terms of the stock market fall-offs. And I think our Republican friends realize they've been quiet this long, but at some point they've got to step up. Last week on national security, a lot of them expressed privately to me. This week, I hope we get a few more publicly to say, calling Canada an enemy and having these across-the-board tariffs on Canada doesn't make sense. There will be other actions we'll take as we go on, as the policies of Trump, both raising prices, adding financial burden to Americans' paychecks, dealing with our allies as if they're enemies, and this totally careless approach to national security, it's building up. I'm hearing it on the road from Virginians regardless of party. I think our Republican friends have got to be hearing the same stuff.
Yeah, they're also hearing from the Wall Street Journal, which took Peter Navarro's comment that the $600 billion raised in tariff revenue would actually be a tax cut. The Wall Street Journal calls it Orwellian. Calling George Orwell, they say it's actually a tax increase. They made the same point that it would be extremely large, the largest since World War I. And talking about going on the offensive, as you mentioned a moment ago, I want to ask you about Social Security and the launching of a war room to combat DOGE cuts to Social Security. Explain that.
Well, the fact is, when you're talking about $4 trillion of taking it out of government spend, or these numbers bounce all around, and you've got Elon Musk is a smart, technical guy, but his crowd is going to be the most inept, careless, sloppy group I've ever seen in any legitimate business. They'd be fired because when they come into these agencies, as we saw when they fired people that were protecting our nuclear stockpiles, when they fired without reason a lot of the folks who answer the phones at the IRS, if they're going to find the monies they need, Social Security and Medicaid can't be off the table, no matter what Trump says. So the rhetoric versus the reality, and we're going to hold them accountable for that.
Senator Mark Warner, really good to have you. Thank you for joining us today. Hey, CEO.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How you feeling?
I'm doing excellent.
Oh,
You're upside down today, I see.
I'm upside down. Yeah, I didn't know the rest of the words. But so what do you feel about these tariffs, CEO?
I think it's terrible that we're hurting Japan and Canada, and those need to be ended immediately. The rest of them, let's see how they play out, but they're not trending very well right now.
But even if we go back, right? If he says, "Oh, never mind, I'm just playing," April Fools or not on April 1st. But if he should do that,
They're called books.
the effect has already started, right? Like, cause I was listening to the news earlier, and they were saying like, housing is going to be like $9,200 more. Other markets are going up already before they actually even.
I've read a lot of these books.
Hit from it.
I think, whenever he does reverse it, actually, you'll probably get a bull run out of the stock market. Like, investments will go up significantly because there will be a lot of relief and more optimism. So, whenever he reverses it, there will be a boost.
Okay, but what about the prices, though? The prices don't go backwards. They don't roll back.
They do slowly, right? They don't drop them instantaneously, but over time, they start to slow. Like if you look at what eggs are right now, eggs are down to like $2.93, and what were they like 6 weeks ago? Like $6.
Wait! So, they're $2 where you're at, CEO?
No, I'm talking about the national average.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, they're $15 for a pack of 18. I just went the other day.
Dag. Yeah, the national average has been cut in half.
They're high.
And that was a slow burn. So, prices go up fast, they come down slow.
Yeah, but even still with the eggs, I feel as though possibly that the egg prices were also up because of the bird flu.
Correct, that's true.
So, right. So now they're getting more eggs and replenishing them. That helps the cost to go down. But with products and goods, it's a little different, right? Because, supply and demand. The only way I feel like is going to force people to bring the prices down, or, the companies to bring the prices down, is if, in fact, people don't purchase it. And then they're like, "Oh, well, I got to sell this anyway." But they're going to probably try to monopolize on whatever high cost they can, as long as they can. At least that's how I see it. Okay. Yeah, and I don't know that the national average is 2 something, maybe wholesale. I don't know. I don't agree with that.
I'll give it to you right now. 1 month.
Haitian, how much are your eggs?
I gotta look really, because I don't really eat eggs.
Do a Google search for your local grocery store.
Give me a second. Let me see.
Hey Ben. Hey Haitian.
So what up? So if y'all want some eggs, I can ship them to you. Real quick.
No.
But there's no shortage by me though. I see them on the shelves. Let me see real quick though.
Yeah, we see them on the shelf too.
Oh, there's mad money.
Still $15.
All right, let me check real quick.
sister paid $10 for, was it a 24 pack or count? But she was at what you call it?
Costco.
Yeah, because
Yeah, that's fair. $10. So 5
for 24
dozen. Yeah, that's. Yeah, 2 something for eggs. I don't know. Where they do that at?
Right.
But yeah, I guess we don't know how long this is gonna last, right? Because so you said, oh, when it comes down, it's gonna be a bear market or whatever. Okay, but what do we do in the meantime? Is this gonna be a year, 2 years? Like, I guess I don't know.
Well, I don't know what game he's playing with that. I am unsure.
So why did the gas prices go down? Anybody? Hey, oh no more. Welcome to the stage. Anybody know why the gas went down? Why the gas went down?
Good morning. I imagine that they felt the suppliers felt more secure about the future of our access to domestic gas, because prices can reflect anticipation and even drilling, because drilling means there'll be more supply.
When the gas go down, I'm not seeing the gas going down. I'm feeling it at least. When the gas go down?
I don't know, brother. I'm just going off of what people in the chat saying.
Yeah, so I just posted the link. Yeah, so it says $3 on the dot.
So gas prices haven't gone down. I'm looking it up.
For eggs. Excuse me, eggs, $3 per dozen.
So it says in gas prices have remained relatively stable.
Yeah, I just got gas yesterday and it definitely ain't go down by me.
Yeah, there haven't been any gas prices going down. Tesla,
All right, Patty. So
100% mine, Tesla stock went down.
Wait, you're talking about $3.86 for the average price of eggs? Oh, CEO is
or gas.
So, eggs and gas being the same price. No, I'm just saying because CEO put something, and this is the wholesale price of eggs. Negotiated wholesale price, like that's what it's talking about. So the wholesale price is different from like consumer. Right?
Yeah, so over here I'm looking at Publix for 18 counts, $10.99. For Eggland's Best for a 30 count of store brand is $14.99. So the lowest one I'm seeing is $5.99 for a 12 count. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the lowest I'm seeing.
That's about right. I think over here it's about $7 to $8 for a 12 count. Something like that. Oh no, I just looked at 18 count.
People just be telling stories for no reason. Just lie.
It's like, why lie about that? Like, seriously.
Lord.
Sunshine said it's 11 and change at her local Walmart.
Hey, Sashi. Happy Clubhouse anniversary. Yeah, I don't know. So the gas ain't really go down. The eggs ain't really go down. I mean, I guess, if you're saving yourself a penny or two here or there, then maybe you consider that it's going down. Perhaps. Maybe. That's what it is. And, it went down 3 pennies, so.
Okay. So outside of these tariffs, there was an opinion. There's been some conversations about a U.S. invasion of Greenland, and it could actually happen.
You actually had me to sit up. Wait, what?
Start from the beginning slowly, please.
Yeah, rewind.
Because I'm at work and I'm like, I wasn't expecting to hear that.
So they are saying that there's a possibility that there could be an actual. We could try to invade Greenland. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip real quick. This is VP Vance talking at the U.S. space base in Greenland. Make sure I'm in music mode. Okay. USA.
President has previously not ruled out military force when he's talking about taking over Greenland, but your rhetoric today is more about encouraging the Greenlandic people to vote for independence. Do you think the rhetoric has changed about that, or what's your message there?
No, I don't think it's changed at all. Look, the president said clearly he doesn't think that military force is going to be necessary, but he absolutely believes that Greenland is an important part of the security, not just of the United States, but of the world, and of course the people of Greenland too. It's very simple. I think the president's been very consistent here from his State of the Union, from his inaugural address, and every public statement that he's made. This territory, Greenland, really matters for the security of the United States. It's extremely vulnerable right now, and if the people of Greenland were willing to partner with the United States, and I think that they ultimately will partner with the United States, we could make them much more secure, we could do a lot more protection, and I think they'd fare a lot better economically as well. This has to happen, and the reason it has to happen, I hate to say it, is because our friends in Denmark have not done their job in keeping this area safe. They just haven't done it. It's very simple. For all of our friends in the American media who attack the administration for pointing out the obvious, what is the alternative? To give up the North Atlantic? To give up the Arctic? To China, to Russia, and to other regimes that don't have the best interest of the American people at heart? We have no other option. We need to take a significant position in Greenland to keep the people here safe, but to keep our own country safe too. We'll do one or two more. Yeah.
Trump said this week the U.S. would go as far as we have to go to acquire Greenland. In that same vein, that question, are there plans that have been drafted to use military force to take over Greenland?
Well, what the president has said is that we need to have more of a position in Greenland. We need it, again, for the safety of the American people. And what we think is going to happen is that the Greenlanders are going to choose through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people of Greenland from there. So I think that talking about anything too far in the future is way too premature. We do not think that military force is ever going to be necessary. We think this makes sense. And because we think the people of Greenland are rational and good, we think we're going to be able to cut a deal, Donald Trump style, to ensure the security of this territory, but also the United States of America.
Tomorrow is what?
So Greenland could be the 51st state.
Or like Puerto Rico or something.
Okay, here's where I defer to Patty and those that have served, that know our military. I'm just a voice just here on the app, but I'm like, look, last time I checked my civics, and I don't know, Article 5, isn't that when one country is attacked, it's like an attack on all, like after 9/11 with America, a lot of our fellow NATO countries. I mean, like, so I'm like, what? Dude, I with this orange buffoon, I've rarely been shocked. I'm just disappointed because you've had 4 years as a reference, as a guide of what this dude will do. I'm like, what? This sound? I swear, I feel like I'm listening to like an episode of The Sopranos or watching Goodfellas or something. Like, hey, we're gonna protect you, but it'll be of your own free volition if you vote. But yeah, I mean, like, what are we? What are we doing? Like, are you serious? I'm really flabbergasted. That's just kind of like, this mofo is dead ass serious. Does he not think that?
All right, let's somebody else get in there. Let me see something. El Norma. El Prophet, though?
Presente.
Are you the prophet?
Presente.
El Vente.
I said. Yo no soy capitán, yo soy marinero.
Who declared this? Who declared it?
Who declared what?
That you're a prophet.
No, I think they're kidding around. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know if you were a prophet.
I think we're past the age of prophets. I'll check my calendar, but I don't think we have to.
I don't know, Norm. I think there's some prophet stuff about that. But anywho, what's going on? So
Best case scenario. It sounds completely crazy, but Trump says and does crazy things, and if you get nervous about crazy stuff, this is definitely not a good president for you, you know? Because he talks crazy and he does crazy things. That's part of his brand. I mean, there is no question that we have serious security concerns at the top of the world. He seems to be doing this in a very blunt way, right? It's not very diplomatic or subtle, you know? It's not like he formed a commission to study it and to advocate for it and got a legislative committee together to write a bill, you know, the way a normal person would. Right?
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe his fallback position is going. I mean, there's always a fallback position with him, right? He always makes a maximal claim or demand and then negotiates or compromises. So maybe all we want to do is expand our base up there dramatically. I mean, it's interesting because if he wanted to make this argument, implicit in his position is an admission of climate change, because the whole reason this is necessary is because the polar ice caps are melting. So somebody clever could say you've just admitted that climate change is real and that the world is changing because of it. The Democrats should probably hit him with that.
Yeah, that's not the only reason why he wants Greenland, though.
So I do have breaking news, y'all.
Strategically positioned.
I got breaking news, so I'm not sure how breaking this is, but it just
that's the same reason I'm talking about. Sorry, go.
So we'll keep far.
We have missile defense over there. That's what he's talking about. Not saying what you're saying.
Right.
Not the waterways at the top of the world.
That's not his priority. That's not his top concern.
That's the complete picture of what the issue is.
That's one of the concerns. It's the missile. It's access to being able to. Yeah, it's all that, y'all. So breaking news. So Wilkie Farr becomes the latest big law firm to strike a deal with Trump. You know who the partner is at that firm?
Douglas.
Yes.
Douglas who?
Douglas Emhoff, the first gentleman.
Oh, the would-be first gentleman, yeah.
The second gentleman, sorry.
That's dirty game, man.
It's a law firm where Doug Emhoff, former VP Kamala Harris' husband, is a partner, has struck a deal with the Trump administration as the industry's most prominent firm, scrambled to avoid becoming the next target of punitive executive orders. Wilkie Farr agreed on Tuesday to provide at least $100 million in pro bono services to help veterans ensure fairness in the justice system, combat anti-Semitism. According to, I'm okay with that if he's trying to do. But the firm's pro bono work will represent the full political spectrum, including conservative ideals. According to the Truth Social Post, the firm also agreed not to engage in illegal DEI discrimination and preferences or choose clients based on political views. The firm's executive committee said in an internal memo obtained by the Wall Street Journal that it was aware it would be one of the administration's next target. The committee acknowledged that its peers were criticized for similar deals, but said...
Interesting, because a lot of these law firms do pro bono work for, civic organizations, public interest organizations and groups. And at least one of them, Paul Weiss, they're now because they're the first ones that made the deal. They're trying to keep their people, because we know that the big names on the banner, yeah, they're big names, but most of the work are done by these, the associate lawyers. And so a couple of these firms are having problems like keeping their associates. Like one of the major associates from Paul Weiss quit, and there are 3 others that are contemplating, moving to other law firms. So the consequences of this for those firms is something that's not, they're not being focused on. But yeah, this last submission is, in the words of Ashton, really concerning.
Right, because they got Kamala's husband. You know who another partner is with this firm? One of the chief investigative counsels for the January 6th House Committee. So he really targeted this particular firm.
Yeah, and now there's another one he's gonna go after that I read about yesterday. He's gonna target. Let me see if I can find the article.
Yeah, we've never seen nothing like this happen. This is crazy.
What did I miss? The law firm surrendering?
Yeah, the one that one of the partners is Kamala's husband. Another partner is one of the chief investigative counsels from the January 6th House Committee. So they were targeted.
I think we find out after they settle. I mean, these are like the biggest name brand law firms that I could think of. Why are they doing this?
They targeted this particular law firm because Kamala's husband and someone that sat on the January 6th House Committee.
I'm not saying no to that. I'm not saying no to that. I just remember Skadnarps and Paul Weiss are 2 of the biggest ones. They're very famous, large name brand law firms. Skadnarps might be the biggest in the world. I have to check it. I think it was at one point. I know people at these famous firms.
Big, but what does the big part have to do with that? So because they're big, he wants them. Like, what's the conclusion to that?
Yeah, they're formidable and talented. They're the kind of firm you don't go up against. I think what's been happening, as has been happening this is all stuff that I feel like we've talked about. That's happened in all our major institutions. They've all sort of surrendered to a loss of objectivity in the past 10 years or so. And people have all become much less committed to objectivity. And they all seem to have been activated against Trump in years past. I don't know the specifics of this law firm or that one. You can bring up, what was that, what was the one from the Russiagate? Bowie? I forget.
Perkins Coie?
Perkins Coie, that's right. Perkins Coie, yeah. So
they're suing. They're suing, actually.
Right. Well,
you trust the lawyers now?
What do you mean?
No, just a general question. Do you trust lawyers?
That's a very broad statement.
Let me tell you all something.
Do I trust somebody that I retain?
No.
Do I trust somebody that's my friend?
No, I'm sorry. Let me share one thing real quick. Perkins Coie's culture is terrible. I just want to mention that. It's absolutely.
I think a lot of them are horrible. They work you to
death. I don't understand why that's relevant to them. Why is that relevant to them being targeted by the president?
They're cutthroat cultures.
And a vindictive and retaliatory way. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I didn't say that it did, but it is context.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out like what's the. Are you saying like they're corrupt?
I'm saying that I don't naturally believe her side of the story. That is what I'm saying. And I'm saying to someone to poke cooey. I'm not going to naturally believe everything they say.
Which is what?
There are law firms that I am going to find more credible. I struggle.
In what respect? I'm trying to figure out like what's the argument, because they're basically saying that the president shouldn't be targeting them for work that they did for a client, because that's their job to work for their client. So what's not believable about that? That's the part I'm a little confused on.
I think they're alleging that there was could be unethical practices with exculpatory evidence that was offered, and somebody
but that's not the president's purview to target them for that, though.
Well, you're using targeted. Well, you're talking about targeting, and that's unjustified. I'm saying that the justification of them looking into these firms, you have to know that.
Well, what I'm saying though is that's not. I understand what you're saying, but what I need an explanation on is why that's the president, the president's purview to do that. That's what I don't understand.
Why is it the president's purview to target a law firm?
Well, she's using that word, but I think that you should investigate anything, just like what we would say about just 6 months ago.
The president,
why is it Joe Biden's purview?
The president's office should be doing that? That's what I'm saying.
Department of Justice. What are you talking about?
But this isn't. I'm asking you, because you said.
Well, you're saying targeting. I'm saying.
Okay, we can forget that verb.
Okay,
we can forget the verb target.
Right.
Is it the president's? Like, why is the president? Why?
Yes, I think it's their position.
And it's the question specifically related to CEO's comment that he wouldn't trust Perkins Coie's representation of the situation. And what I said was their representation of the situation is that in the Hillary Clinton case, they were representing their client, right? And so how are they, why, and there's no evidence that there's no evidence that in doing that they did anything extra legal or illegal. So what is the justification?
The last part.
Wait. Y'all gonna stop interrupting Dr. Talking.
Yeah. So my question is, why is it the purview of the executive to go after, to look into the workings of a private law firm and how they executed the defense of their client, right? Because you can look into any law firm, people that do car accidents, like I'm just trying to get the logic of that part and how that part is justified. And specifically, to threaten because this is a direct verb, to threaten the removal of their security clearances, which impedes their ability to do their work. So I want to understand.
Well, I think it answers your question. Like, it's within his purview to work with whatever private firm they want to work with. And if they say, hey, we are questioning our relationship with your firm, it's up for review. That's well within his purview. Whatever the reason is, who cares, right?
No, it's not who cares. Sorry, Patty, go ahead.
That's an abuse of power. You don't see it as abuse of power?
Absolutely not.
Because it's not a restaurant.
Well, wait a minute. I need a point of clarification. Somewhere, did you get a chance to listen to the clip?
No, I'm responding to what this young lady was just asking as far as...
You didn't listen to the clip.
Why?
Right, but
she said, why is it in the president's purview, is her question.
I understand, but they're building off of the clip. So there's something that has happened with the law firm and him obtaining them to come work for him. They hadn't been working for them. Is that right, Patty?
So First Lady, it's two different things. So the Douglas Imhoff thing is one thing. I'm talking about the executive order referring to Perkins Coie and the charge that Perkins Coie is doing racial discrimination because of their diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. But that's what it says.
Well,
that's what it literally says in the executive order.
Completely garbage. Yeah, that part's completely garbage. Go ahead. You were finishing. Sorry.
Good, thank you.
No, I'm saying Dr. AG was finishing.
Oh, okay.
Let her.
Okay, good.
Y'all got to let people complete what they gotta say. Go ahead, Doctor. Thanks. So in the executive order, that's the allegation, right? That they're engaging in race-based and sex-based discrimination because of their DEI policies, and that justifies them no longer having access to security clearance, and denying them federal funds, right? Because they have federal contracts. And in the conversation about it, how they became a law firm of interest, it had to do with them representing Hillary Clinton and the whole episode around the Steele dossier. So my question is, we know that the question of the Steele dossier is a political question, right? The thing of DEI, you could argue, they're arguing it's a policy-based question. And so my question is for anyone, I guess, how is this appropriate for the president to levy an investigation against a private entity for how they are doing what the private entity is designed to do, which is to protect their client's interest, which is to vigorously represent their clients within the law, and to institute policies and practices internally that make them very effective in carrying out those duties. That's what my question is. What's the legitimacy around that?
All right, Norm, go ahead, and then I have a response.
Thank you.
And then I have to put a link in the chat if you guys want to read that.
Okay, so Perkins Coie has exposed, and that exposure could be litigated, or the government could look the other way in exchange for something that the government wants in real terms in 2025. That's my response to that. All of these law firms, because of their size and power, are going to do things that might expose them to scrutiny. I just named this one. They probably have stuff on all the other law firms. So politics is blood sport. Politics is transactional. It's like somebody was comparing it to House of Cards. Everybody's stabbing everybody else in the back all the time for leverage. Even people on the same team are bumping each other in their quest to rise up in power and money. So in my view, that's my answer to your question, Dr.
Okay, and so, but it doesn't respond to the appropriateness of the president using his political authority to intervene on...
Let me address it directly. So it's the Justice Department threatening Perkins Coie to investigate them for potentially criminal acts in 2016.
Right,
yes,
but no, so hold on, but we also know that there have been numerous investigations of this whole thing, and the liability for Hillary Clinton has been determined negligible. Not
for the law firm.
It's a different
But that's the issue. But then that's the issue, right? Because the law firm, as an entity, is working on behalf of the client. So if you're saying that I, as a law firm, and following legal procedures and all the outlines of jurisprudence, and
that's the rub right there.
Hold on. I vigorously represent my client, right? I am now culpable for that vigorous representation. If that's the case, then every law firm should be investigated.
Drop them, AG, if they can't freaking let you complete your sentence. They can come back up.
Well, I just wanted to just point out that link right there for. So this talks about.
Go on mute, or you're gonna get dropped. Someone, please let her finish.
Case that involves the federal government is thereby exposing themselves to this type of punitive investigation. And what I'm trying to understand is how that is appropriate. That's what I'm trying to understand.
If they broke the law,
Norm, allow me to respond for a second. The question is, did any of them knowingly understand the Steele dossier was false? And then did they continue knowing it was false? So that is the outstanding question, and that would be the legal/ethics issue for an organization that has federal contract.
And Theo, also right here, where they have a higher ethical duty because of what you just referenced, Dr. Yu, the Judas, right, the lawyer-bound, ethical, whatever. If they were to find exculpatory evidence, they are to present it. And if you're looking at the article that I put in the chat, they've been sanctioned multiple times because of Canada. So maybe you should look into that. And it's just not this one instance. They're tying it through 4 different things, or a pattern is what they're alleging.
The Steele dossier doesn't have to be false. It could have been just that they contracted with a foreign spy to obtain it.
But they didn't, though. The law office didn't. That's the thing I'm trying to. There are lots of lines that are being connected that the various House investigations have not connected. That's the point I'm trying to make. But, okay, I mean, I hate it for lawyers because you're not going to be able to do your job. You're just not going to be able
to be a criminal and break the law? Your job is to subvert the law and break the law. That's the job of a lawyer. That's what she's saying. Should be protected.
Representing them to be true. So I think that this is very narrowly construed. It's not the type of scenario that is broadened out. Right? What we're trying to do is basically say, hey, look at us. If it could be us, it could be you. Right? Which is a good argument for them to make. But if you actually dig into the details of it, how many other law firms may find themselves in this situation?
Right now, there's
maybe
7.
A handful.
There's 7.
Less than a handful.
And those are very prominent.
Right now.
Yeah, they're very prominent law firms, though. And they're law firms that do specific kinds of work. And the oppositional research that they got, I just don't see how tying it to the law firm who is working on behalf of a person, they're an individual. That's the part that just doesn't make sense. Yeah, there's 7 of them.
No, but they have a responsibility.
4 of them are in a lawsuit. 4 of them are suing, and 3 have given in to this, doing this pro bono work for the government. And then I want to know how that's legal, because the federal government has a team of lawyers. They have federal employees who we, the taxpayers, are already paying to do this work. And now they're enlisting these extra people. But
so he just declassified Crossfire Hurricane. And if anybody's questioning the legitimacy of the FISA courts on how their warrants were established, they were using this dossier that they're talking about right now. And
no, FISA court was before. FISA court was before this. FISA court, I mean, the problems with
let's go back to 2016.
The problems with FISA court and questioning the legitimacy of FISA court preceded the Steele dossier, sir.
No, I'm talking about the application that was renewed 4 times using the Steele dossier as their predicate, as the reason, as the probable cause.
Right, but
that's an invented history.
The issues with the FISA court preceded that.
What do you mean that's invented history?
James Comey literally.
You just explained your piece, right? So she's trying to explain to you.
No, I was just responding to him. Why?
The concerns about the FISA court predate. It's not to say they didn't add this on, but the concerns about the FISA court predate the Steele dossier. They had to do really with the Patriot Act. That's really when most Americans even found out that the FISA court was a thing. So I'm not saying they didn't add on the Steele dossier stuff, but the Steele dossier is not the main point of objection about the FISA court. That's all my point. That was my only point.
It also wasn't the only thing that they were relying on. Like, and to the extent that the Steele dossier was used, it also wasn't all wrong. So it's like, the idea that you can just say Steele dossier and therefore that means something nefarious happened was completely, unfair and untoward is just wrong. It's also possible for a law firm to put together information that is wrong. Like, that's not breaking the law. They also, in certain contexts, can put together information that is slanted. In fact, often that's what lawyers do. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people use lawyers is to actually create documents that stretch the truth as far in your direction as possible. So as long as Perkins Coie wasn't the organization that was presenting the Steele dossier as fact to the FISA court, which they clearly weren't, right? That was the FBI. They didn't break a law. So the idea that a law firm that works in politics would do something that stretches the truth as far as it can in the direction of its client is to be expected. That frankly is their role in many, many, many cases. Now, if they were presenting that in front of a judge, there'd be different standards. But like the Steele dossier wasn't presented in front of a judge by Perkins Coie. That's not what they did. Also, who would expect a law firm that does a ton of political work to not engage in these kinds of activities? Doesn't mean that it's pretty or that the ethics of it are super easy. That's absolutely not the case. But like, this is the space that they operate in. Like, this level of lawyering gets really ugly. It's just weird to pretend otherwise.
Can I speak? Go ahead, Doc. Yeah, so that was a little weird, right? So what she was talking about wasn't what I was talking about, so I wasn't wrong. What I said was the applications to renew the warrants for the surveillance, there was a scathing report for the FISA courts from the IG Inspector Horowitz, right? And if anybody wants to just look at it, it's pretty clear. The other comment was James Comey walked back. First, they said that it was one of many exhibits that they had of evidence to justify the application. And then they walked that back by saying it was the only thing that was used for probable cause for the application, so on and so forth. And the reason why I mentioned that is because the declassification of Crossfire Hurricane, you have to read it for yourself. There was a Kleinsmith, right? Was the lawyer that took the deal that basically changed the email in the request from the FBI asking, is this person a CIA resource? And he changed it to no. But if it would have been a yes, that investigation would have died on its face. So there's a lot of questionable things that happen there. And when people say, hey, the firm should have access, I don't believe that's true. I believe that firms should act in a respectful and a ethical manner to engage with our government as far as like how that works. If you're not a good, credible firm, then you shouldn't get the action. I put an article in the chat before of how many times they've been sanctioned as far as how they presented certain things. Maybe you should look that up. And then should a government have the ability to choose which firms that they work with and not be entitled and not firms be entitled for the access? That's a good question.
And what FBI was this that misled the FISA court? When was that?
James Comey, the crossfire
When was that?
2015, 16, 17, the whole Russia collusion.
The Russia collusion would have been after 2015.
No, it started in 2015, the investigation, and then it went into his presidency.
It's 2018.
No, that's when it finished. Oh, come on.
That's when the Senate Intelligence Committee meeting was.
It was a 2.5-year investigation.
Yeah, which investigation are we talking about? There was
crossfire hurricane.
I know, but the Senate did one. There was multiple.
But the misleading documents relate to the Intelligence Committee meeting in 2018.
No, that's wrong.
I'm reading it right here. The Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham today released a newly declassified FBI document that indicates the Bureau misled the Senate Intelligence Committee in 2018 about the Steele dossier's primary subsource and therefore the reliability of the Steele dossier. The document clearly shows the FBI was continuing to mislead regarding the reliability of the Steele dossier.
I just mentioned that. So you're talking about the IG's report where it showed that they misled in 2018. What I'm talking about is Crossfire Hurricane, when they very first opened this in late 2015, 2016. So that investigation ran for about 2 years.
So what she was talking about wasn't what I was talking about.
And then the IG runs his report on how good they did. Are they ethical? Right?
Yeah, the IG report, it says in this thing here, it says 2017.
So I think it's about Mueller. So yeah, so there's the IG there. There's the IG. There's an investigation on the Pfizer. Yes. So there's a Mueller investigation, right? The Robert Mueller investigation. You remember that one?
What does this have to do with Perkins Coie?
Perkins Coie is the one that hired the firm that created the dossier for Hillary Clinton.
Which is illegal or impacted by FBI.
No, you're conflating it to one investigation. These are 5 different things that are all tied together because of this one, because of the dossier and the ethical duties that a firm has to say, hey, this is bullshit. We can't use this.
That's not actually how the ethics work.
What? Hold on.
You can go to Christopher Steele.
That's why you were dropped the first time. You gotta let.
You can go to Christopher. You can go to Christopher Steele.
Have a nice day, Patty.
You can go to Christopher Steele and you can ask him to do a thing, and if he does the thing, you decide what you want to do with it, what you think is right, what you think is wrong. Intelligence also isn't an activity that's 100% right all of the time. Like, in fact, 100% ever is great when it can happen. Like, that's not even like the aspiration.
But don't you have to check the veracity of it?
They can try to, but that's not.
That's the point.
But the level of. But he is a very experienced intelligence officer, and you ask him to go do the best that he can do, and that doesn't mean that you always get it right. Like, have you ever gotten an expert report that turned out it was wrong? Like, I don't know, from an appraiser, anyone who, like, you would come do, I don't know, a plumber, a mechanic. Like, this is normal when you go to an expert, but they don't always get every detail right about everything.
You don't stop interrupting people, sir.
I'm asking him a question. What?
But not while he's in the middle of talking.
Yeah, I'll land, and then you can ask me a question. I have no problem going back and forth with you. Like everyone's saying to you, as a grown adult, it's very hard when you just talk over someone, especially on this app. So my point is that when they hired Christopher Steele, it wasn't incumbent upon them to somehow like hire another 3 intelligence agents to try to review everything that you put in that dossier. In fact, they may have been looking for slanted information. That still isn't a problem. Like, that's still something that lawyers can go do. What the Justice Department did with the dossier is its own ethical question, and it's not Perkins Coie's fault at that point what they decided to do or not do.
Yeah, are you done?
Yeah, when I put the little mic thing in the right hand corner, I'm definitely done. Oftentimes I'll say I'm done.
Sounds good. So the question is, are they entitled for the relationship with the government? And if they were to hire Christopher Steele and they were to check the veracity of his work and they were to find out that it was shoddy, or they would not disclose that it was shoddy, do they have an ethical duty to do so as far as exculpatory evidence or things that are to the contrary? Is there an ethical duty as representatives of this firm to say something?
It is incumbent upon an objective trier of fact to determine that they intentionally put forth misleading, false information. That has not been determined by an objective trier of fact. Perkins Coie's contention is that they hired investigators, lawyers, and agents to go and pursue this information. They got the information to the best of their ability. They vetted the information. They passed the oppositional research onto their client, who leveraged the information or chose not to leverage the information in whichever way they wanted to do that. As long as Perkins Coie can prove to an objective trier of fact that they did their due diligence to verify the information that their agents got for them, I don't see how they are culpable. My main point is this seems to me to be a violation of separation of powers. That's my point. And nothing that anyone has said mitigates that. If the legislature, because if the Congress has investigated this thing, right? Congress has not leveled any charges against this institution, right? The agency, the law office. My thing is about the violation of powers, the lack of an opportunity for them to be heard on this and to just be summarily sanctioned, right? To have this punitive measure executed against them. That's what I'm saying. Finally, it punishes the law office for the client leveraging their work, right? It's a legal position. That's the part that I get what you're saying, but my argument is located squarely in the context of the legal execution of this executive order and how that does not suggest an inappropriate use of executive authority, and one that may be violating Perkins Coie's constitutional rights. That's the thing that I'm talking about.
They have a constitutional right to have a relationship with the federal government, that part?
No, it's not about that. It's about the charge that they're levying against them. That's what I'm talking about.
What's the charge?
Oh, God. The whole thing that the other dude was saying, they put forth this false information, they lied to the government, and they used this false information. That hasn't been adjudicated by an objective trier of fact. And they're persecuting them. They have, that's my point. And I'm not going to go back and forth with you because you have, and I'm just going to say this, right? I'm not going to go back and forth with you in this way because you have this way of asking these small questions that are ignoring of the basic principle that is at stake. And so it's like death by 1,000 cuts. And I'm not interested in playing that way. I want to deal with the specific issue as I framed it. I don't want to go off into to their entitlement and all of that. No, they entered into a contract that was fairly negotiated, right? They negotiated with the government for these contracts. They had negotiated with these entities for these contracts, right? And so now the executive is saying, on behalf of these agencies, which you can say that is their right to do, on behalf of these agencies, we are going to remove this. We are going to violate these contracts. We're going to null and void these contracts based on these two principles. And so my question is, are the principles valid within the guidelines within the stipulations that I outlined? That's what I'm saying. That's it, and that's all.
If I could, Dr. AG, just offer some answers real quick, right? I like where you're going, right? And I think I agree mainly. I think I agree with almost everything, right? I'm picking at language. I don't think there are any sanctions or anything like that. But I think this is what revenge looks like, right? The executive branch does get to control the executive branch of the government, right? And so if they, and it's headed by two guys who do not mind being sued or going to court. They relish the opportunity to phrase it in their sense, as was talked about earlier, right? So they wrote these contracts, legally binding contracts, and they don't want to get sued and something for it, right? They're firing people and telling them to go home. The court says you couldn't do it, and they say, okay, we'll hire you back. But by the way, stay home, we'll still pay you. Like, they do not mind, ironically, wasting money or resources, right? I think that Perkins Coie, you raise a great question. If these law firms or any other government contractor can be punished, right, summarily punished for who their clients are, what kind of world are we living in? It truly is a third world democracy, third world kind of country, a banana republic. But this is exactly what revenge looks like. Someone brought up constitutional rights. Perkins Coie, especially after Citizens United, the entity is a legal citizen, blah, blah, blah. It can avail itself of the courts, right, to say, hey, I perceive this to be a violation of my First Amendment rights, my freedom of speech and association, that I can't associate with people because the federal government is going to, and it could be, honestly, a violation of civil rights. Hey, the federal government's going to not do business with me because of this is who my client is. So, I'll stay tuned to the law to do these kinds of things. And I'll land here in 20 seconds. This raises another question, though, right? And that is about the separation of powers and what happens about checks and balances, right? When Congress appropriates money and the executive branch has to enforce the law, I mean, enact the law, do what Congress said do, but they're choosing not to do it. Then what happens? So that's another good question I think raises. So,
and I don't think that these law firms are entitled to business. Like, that's not the thing. The question is can a president decide to retaliate against an organization, against a company because they don't like them or something that they did, right? Or they're just in opposition. Yeah. Like, if Trump had a divorce lawyer who he feels screwed him over and lied about him, and then ban that divorce lawyer, that would obviously be retaliation and him abusing his office. That's the question. So this is the same thing. So hold on a second. So it's the same situation here. Like, if you didn't like something that Perkins Coie did, that you're going out and using your executive power to drag them in public in this way is hugely problematic. Like, I don't even know what the history of executive orders that focus on a single company. Like what is that history? Is there any? I've never heard of this. I've never heard this movement.
If I could, I think I answered that to an extent, but let me rephrase it, right? Yes, the executive branch, the president, right? The executive branch can do that. Will they get sued? Yeah, but it's not their money and they don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? But the president, as a leader of the executive branch, can direct all levels of that executive branch to do whatever generally they want to do, right? I'll remind you of Nixon's massacre. Excuse me. He was going to find whoever he needed to find to do what he said in the Department of Justice. And I will keep firing until I get the fucking janitor that'll do what I said do. And I don't mind. So you let me know. This recently happened with Attorney General Bondi in the Southern District of New York's office, I believe, the Public Integrity Unit. I will keep firing until I find somebody to do what I said done, what I want done. Keep trying me, and I'll keep firing because I have the power to do so. And these people will sue, and the person that does it doesn't care because it's not their money. So the shorter answer, I'm sorry, and that may be why it gets lost among the points, is that yes, the president can do these things. Has it been done via executive order? I do not think ever has been done. Via gentlemen's agreements, yes. I mean, that's nothing new. People in power deciding to penalize someone. If you're the Speaker of the House and you don't like a certain a lobbying firm, I bet you $5 to a dime, that lobbying firm will not be in any court because
because why? I'm the Speaker of the House, and I dictate how the House is ran. And that's what I choose to do. That's my personal. It's my prerogative, and it has happened throughout history, right? But never via executive.
But it's the ethics that are implicated here more than, well, I mean, the law is implicated also, but because government's in total Republican control and everyone's in total and absolute fealty to Donald Trump and virtually all the law isn't going to be enforced to the extent that the law is implicated here. So to me, this is more a question of ethics, and is this an acceptable action by the Trump administration or not? I mean, if the way doesn't, who can act freely and who can't act freely, we get into some really, really ugly outcomes very, very quickly. And it's, it's an almost quaint example of how Trump is, perverting our politics. But if the next Democrat that comes in does the same thing to the Republican firms, do we really think that's okay? And I think the answer is obviously that it's not okay. And that we shouldn't just go after the other side's lawyers to try to, create a chilling effect so that people are afraid to represent your opposition, which is obviously hold on a second. Which is obviously what the implication is here.
And Your Honor, the other thing that I forgot that I didn't mention is that in the executive order, it wants, so it makes clear that the issue with Perkins Coie is the clients, but also legal positions that the firm has taken on behalf of the clients. And then it compels them to turn over information about the relationship between the firm and the client. And so that's another part of it that's really covered. And all of this could be addressed by the wording of the executive order. We could say it's just like the way that it's worded, but that's the thing, like as it's written, it is in Perkins Coie's perception that it's punishing them for their client associations and their legal positions. And it wants, as evidence of its claim that the firm has done something untoward, they want it to turn over basically proprietary information or confidential information that would violate the attorney-client privilege, right? So it's just like the layers of it, the layers of the argument raise constitutional concerns for the law firm, but also for individuals and the security with which we seek legal assistance to redress our grievances against the government, right? Because if people are afraid, if lawyers are afraid to contest the government, then that leaves me, a citizen who has a matter that requires redress, that leaves me very little avenue. And that's my First Amendment as well. So, anyway.
I just wanted to say, to Your Honor's point, I hate to sound so sad, but this is part of why I decided to why I'm dipping my toe back into talking about the federal government. I decided not to talk about them for a long time, since the election. But number one, the culture of the leader permeates the entire organization. And I frankly, ironically, and I'm only in law school, but I don't see the constitutional violation or issue or something like here. The executive branch, the president, is well within his powers to do these kinds of things legally. Is it the right thing to do? Hell no. But they have no ethics. They have no morals. Their only ethics and morals are self-serving. What benefits me? That's it. That's all. And this has been talked about Donald specifically for the better part of 60 years. Wayne Bear was writing in the Village Voice about it in the 70s, right? Even about Elon, his family and close friends and other business associates and things of that nature will say, oh, he really cares about the stuff he cares about. Everything else be damned. So with that being said, can the executive branch, the president, right, choose to not do these things? Yeah, they can. and it's illegal because they can do it, right? But their culture, their ways permeate the entire place. You know what I'm saying? There was a reason why George W. Bush's administration was so hell bent on catching anybody for Valerie Plame. That's because Dick Cheney really prized and placed in high value the intelligence community, and George H.W. Bush did as well. So he leaned on his son about it, like, "Hey, you can't do this." And they went out and found or blamed Scooter Libby for it. But the culture comes from the top, man, and they have no values. So who's surprised by them doing whatever they want that self-service them?
But Rob, all of that aside, right? That's not the question, because I think so. What I would say is to look at the executive order and then to look at Perkins Coie's complaint, because in Perkins Coie's complaint they lay out what the constitutional issues are, and it is related to the firm as an entity, right? A person, a citizen, and the rights that the firm has to pursue their professional livelihood and within the tenets and the ethical constraints of the profession, right? And that those things are being violated, like to demand or to require that my lawyer turn over information gathered in pursuit of my representation. That is a constitutional violation. It's a violation of the firm's First Amendment of association, their ability to speak on political matters. It's a violation of my constitutional right as well. So and the whole thing about the diversity, equity, and inclusion thing, I mean, that is questionably a First Amendment issue as well. I mean, so not to mention the Fifth Amendment, so I would just say to you specifically to look at the executive order and then to look at Perkins Coie's complaint and their filing against the DOJ, because they spell it out in ways far more cogent and legally astute than I can.
When did they file suit?
They filed it early last month. I'll see if I can find the complaint and put it in the chat. I have it somewhere in my phone.
I thought which firm was that that kissed the ring?
Oh, there have been 3 of them.
I have breaking news, or may not be breaking. 6.1 Americans, the FHA delinquencies just hit 11.3%. Did you all guys talk about this already?
Could you repeat?
The mortgage delinquencies just hit 11.3%, the highest it's ever been in years. 6.1 million Americans are behind on their mortgage. And they're basically saying this is worse than 2007.
I told y'all, as soon as those COVID measures stopped to help people in foreclosure, we were going to be in this situation, unfortunately. I've seen this coming. I work in foreclosure prevention for a few years. The government was providing during COVID. This is getting ugly. And I have people trying to sell their houses quickly. I have 3 people with house on the market right now. No one's buying. They're selling it for below market and no one wants to buy. So, if it sells at auction, they're not going to get as much. But yeah. Jess, could you link that or put it in the chat or something?
Yeah.
Hey, son, if I could be nosy real quick, do you also have a real estate?
I don't. That would be a conflict with what I do. I can't turn around and try to sell someone's house that I'm trying to help them prevent a foreclosure. So no.
Thanks Thanks so much.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be comfortable referring to I couldn't even refer, but someone to a realtor. I don't do that.
Yeah, I know one of the attorneys I used to work for, the former real estate coordinator, she left to get a real estate license because she realized doing short sales were more money, right? And so that's obviously usually one of the real estate licensed professional. That's their answer to foreclosure. Oh, short sale. But in some instances, it is appropriate. But she just found that there was more money on that side, so that's where she went. So, but I'm sorry to segue the conversation.
No, it's okay. If I wanted to, believe me, I could make a ton of money, but I choose to work in a nonprofit and be poor. But believe me, there's a lot of money to be made. I'm in Brooklyn, and there's a lot of, these people, but I would feel yucky. I would feel like I'm taking advantage of poor people because there's people with $2 million, $3 million brownstones, but they're these are family homes, right? So they're not necessarily, they're house rich, but they're lower income people. So anyways.
Back to the original conversation. I was just listening to Dr. AD because I have not a clue. You guys are getting a lot of good information.
Yeah, it's a very problematic thing. I'm trying to find. I'm looking to see where I downloaded the definition.
Okay, everybody, this is my morning podcast. Please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. This is basically opposition research. This is my rebrand of all my social media stuff. We're going all in on the Republican Party, and we're running for the 16th district here in Illinois. My name is Congressman Kitover. God bless Donald Trump. God bless Elon Musk. Donald Trump's wizard. Merlin and King Arthur.